was weird. I just saw something run across the screen.
When you hear stories of ghost encounters, they almost always happen at night. This seems strange because surely if ghosts exist, they would be present throughout the entire day and be just as likely to be seen in the afternoon. It turns out that sightings do regularly occur when it's light. They're just sometimes more difficult to see than during the darkness, when color contrasts are easier to spot. We've found some of the best to show you. Join us as we explore the 14 scariest daylight ghosts to have ever been caught on camera. Number 14. Ghost in the Room. This next footage comes from a security camera in the emergency waiting room of St. John's Mercy Hospital and was captured on May 22, 2011. At first, it seems like any other hospital waiting room, but things soon take a spooky turn. One of the magazines starts to move and the pages turn. They keep flipping, seem to settle on a particular article, and then start moving again. Of course, this could be caused by a breeze blowing through an open window. But that doesn't explain what happens next. The power in the room seems to be cut, and everything is plunged into darkness. The environment then seems to be getting misty. Debris starts moving all around the room, and then a massive force starts to swirl everything about. Chairs, beds, and every other piece of furniture are pushed across the room and out of sight. Cables are left dangling from the ceiling. Tiles crash to the floor, and the entire room is ruined. Miraculously, the camera still stays in place to record the footage of this ghost-nado, but very little else survives. Number 13. Ghost in London. With hundreds of ancient buildings, many of which have been around for hundreds of years, London is a popular place for ghost hunters from around the world to visit in search of elusive evidence. There's plenty of places to explore, and with the hardships that people throughout history endured, if there are going to be angry spirits anywhere in the world, then they're likely to be here. This footage was recorded by a paranormal investigator who was visiting the Tower of London, where countless people were tortured and executed throughout history. It's renowned for being the place that 2 young princes were murdered, as well as those who opposed the monarchy, and was even where Henry VIII had one of his wives beheaded. It has therefore always been the subject of legends that speak of ghosts that haunt the hallways, but evidence has been somewhat sparse, until now. On this occasion, the investigator noticed a strange glowing mist floating through the air in front of the castle. He follows it as it travels the length of the building and then floats up into the air. He, and many other paranormal experts, was convinced that this is an apparition as opposed to a trick of the light, and it's something that has been reported by other visitors before. What do you think? Is this a ghost? Or is it something far easier to explain? Number 12. Girl's reflection. Ghost. This video from Japan shows a young girl in her bedroom as she's combing her hair and putting makeup on. It's a typical setup with mirrors like this to help you see what you're doing. But what would you do if the reflected images didn't exactly match up with reality? She turns around to look at her parents and then turns back to the mirrors. The problem is, one of her reflections doesn't do the same at all. Instead, it stays still and stares back at her. This is an old piece of footage, so it wasn't as easy to get hold of decent video editing software at the time, so it's unlikely this is a forgery in that way. But what is actually happening here, and how is it even possible? It's almost as if the reflection has been delayed by a few seconds, but the speed of light means that this should be impossible. Is it a ghostly reflection that's got a mind of its own, or something else entirely? What do you think? And how would you go about recreating it if you couldn't edit the video? Number 11. Ghost car. A motorcyclist in the UK was approaching a roundabout with a GoPro on his helmet recording everything when something very strange happened. As he gets to the junction, there's a small red car turning around ahead of him. But when the motorcyclist turns around the roundabout himself, there's absolutely no sign of where this car has gone.
Okay. What the
He looks around to see if it had made a sharp turn, but still nothing. So, where could this car have possibly gone? Was it a ghost car that had vanished into nowhere? Was it being driven by someone into a secret exit from the roundabout? Or has the driver of the red car made a move that no one would think of investigating? It completely baffled the guy on the motorcycle and doesn't make any sense at all. What do you think happened? Number 10. Ghost in the house. Here, a man from Florida had been experiencing strange occurrences around his home, so he set up a series of security cameras to try and catch the culprit in the act. One day, when he returned back from work, He realized that his courtyard doors were wide open, but he knew for a fact that he had locked them shut before he left home that morning. He immediately went to check the footage, and this is what he found. There was no breeze blowing that day, and the timestamp on this bit of the film is just a few moments before he pulled up in the driveway. As you can see, one of the doors slowly opens just like it would if someone was cautiously entering or leaving the house. The problem is, there's no one there. So, could this be evidence of a ghost using the door? What's more concerning is that while the man assumed this was the ghost exiting the property, what if it was actually a ghost entering it just as he got home? What do you think is happening here? Do you believe the man's story, and also think this is a paranormal event, or is he embellishing events to try and gain some notoriety? Number 9. Mystery creature grabs child. It's one thing encountering a ghost that's trying to get on with its business in a harmless way, but sometimes paranormal events have much more purposeful intentions, and they aren't always positive ones. This footage was captured by a family who had set up a camera to help them keep watch over their child. She's alone in her room, lying on the floor, and has begun to do her homework. The girl is clearly bothered by something, as she keeps looking off to one side, but she returns to what she's doing after being unable to see anything else in the room with her. She starts moving more, after clearly having sensed something's not quite right, but what happens next sent chills down the spines of her parents when they saw the video. A hand starts to emerge from beneath the bed, and then it grabs her in a flash. According to stories from the time, the girl vanished and was never seen again. Despite having this video evidence as proof, everyone suspected the parents for doing something. But how could they have made this video afterward if they had done? What do you think it shows? Is it a ghost snatching the girl, a witch, an animal, or something else? Next time a child asks you to check under their bed for monsters before they go to sleep, just remember what happened here, and be very, very careful. Number 8. Child ghost watches family. This next family had just spent a day together in the park and had recorded their games as memories so they could watch them back later on. It was only when they did this, however, that they realized something very creepy about their day out, and will probably be a lot more cautious anytime they leave the house in the future. While they are playing together, the unmistakable figure of a young boy can be seen in the background against a small wall. The entire family is together in the group, though, so he definitely wasn't with them. Furthermore, he remains absolutely motionless and the family doesn't have any sense that he's there at all. But who is this boy? And why is he watching the family? Some online commentators are convinced that the figure is actually just a part of the rocky edge to the field, and it just so happens to look human-shaped. But this seems like a very convenient explanation. Could it instead be a real boy who was just very shy and didn't want to move, or the ghost of a child that still goes out to look for other children to play with? Have you ever seen anything like this? And what would you do if you ever came face to face with a ghost of an infant? Number 7. Ghost in the rain. The person who recorded this video had recently been experiencing some strange things around their house and had heard some incredibly weird noises from outdoors. One day, when it was raining, they didn't have much to do because they couldn't go out, so decided instead to explore in the backyard when they started hearing the sounds again. They look around across fallen trees and pieces of tarpaulin and then suddenly see something running across. It's so fast that you might not see it the first time, but if you watch it slowly and focus on the area beneath the tree to the right, you'll see a strange shadowy creature moving into the undergrowth. This one is so fast moving that it's virtually impossible to identify it, but what's interesting is how transparent it appears to be. No animal of this size that we know of looks anything like that, so what is it? The family who lives in the house are convinced that it's a ghost and is responsible for all the loud noises and events that happen in the area, and the people who usually try to find a rational explanation for these things have struggled to explain it. Do you think you've just seen a ghost? And if so, what is it a ghost of? Could it be the spirit of a creature as opposed to a human? Which further asks the question, why are virtually all of the ghosts that people see described as being human-like? Where are all the animal ghosts? Number 6. Attic ghost. Have you ever heard any strange noises coming from the attic in your house? They're known for being peculiar places and are only really designed for storage because of the lack of other amenities that you find elsewhere in the home. But one resident was becoming particularly irritated by the sounds emanating from the attic in his apartment block in Italy, so decided to set up a camera to see if he could record what was happening. At first, he thought it could have been some animals that were living up there, but his theory was soon disproved. As this footage shows, it seems as if the place is actually haunted by ghosts. Objects start to move, the rocking chair rocks, and the horse starts to wobble as well. This isn't something that could happen because of a slight breeze blowing through, so there must have been someone or something interacting with them. No visible apparitions were caught on camera, but for the resident, this evidence was enough. He moved back to America soon after he recorded this and moved into a new apartment that didn't have any signs of being haunted and didn't have an attic just in case. Number 5. Flying ghost in tunnel. These investigators have decided to explore a cave that's nearby to where they live, and a place that's long been said to be the site of strange and potentially paranormal activity. As they are talking and looking at each other, the one holding the camera turns towards the entrance and spots a figure quickly jumping up into the air and vanishing. They chased after it to try and find out what it was, but there was no trace at all. Watching the video back, the mysterious entity seems to be human-like, and a bit ant-like too, but it's far faster and more agile than most people are. It also appears to be wearing clothing, perhaps a cloak, which has led to some viewers debating whether this was a ghost caught on camera or alternatively a witch. Both beings would be able to act in this way and would probably try their best to not be recorded, but without any further evidence of what it was, it's impossible to say for sure. What's your opinion? Is it a ghost, a witch, something innocuous like a local animal, or is the video a fake? Number 4. Ghost on a train. Samuel L. Jackson may be tired of snakes on planes, but we can't stop watching this video of a ghost on a train because of how utterly creepy it is. The man with the camera was traveling for the first time with his girlfriend for a trip away, and he was moving his camera around the train car to see who else was there and capture each part of their journey. When you watch it through at full speed, nothing seems too out of the ordinary. But when it's watched back slowly, it becomes apparent that he managed to catch an image of a ghostly figure. You almost certainly miss it the first time, but then you see that on one of the seats there's a transparent ghost sitting calmly like any other passenger would. It's clearly in the form of a human, but doesn't show any sign of movement. The camera pans away and back again, and the ghost is gone. If ghosts truly are everywhere, then it would make sense that they have to use public transport, just like we do. So is this evidence of a paranormal event that has been caught on camera, or is it something else that explains what was seen in a better way? Make sure to let us know what you think. Number 3. Cat spots ghost. Although we think of ourselves as being more intelligent than any other animals, there are occasions when we see how perceptive and wise non-human creatures can be. This video was recorded in 2012 by a homeowner who was convinced that this room is haunted. According to him, the light in the kitchen doesn't normally flicker, and it was something that usually happens just before paranormal activity starts to happen. As you can see, the first sign that something's not right is the reaction of his cat, who's clearly spooked by a presence in the room. Soon after, there's a thudding noise, and the cat runs away. There was no one in the kitchen at the time, so you have to wonder what it was that the kitten saw. Annoyingly, the rest of the room is out of shot, so we can't see for ourselves, but next time you see a cat reacting like this, you could be in store for a paranormal experience of your own. Number 2. Summoning and commanding spirits. Let's be honest, we've all dreamt of having superpowers of our own. After all, that's why the genre is so popular in literature and cinema. But do you know anyone who actually has legitimate superpowers? And even if someone did claim to have such abilities, would you believe them? This video from a YouTuber called Michael Magee might make you reconsider your answer. He has been experimenting with paranormal abilities for a long time.
Coins on each corner just so that they were slightly overhanging so that if the chair moved.
And this clip shows what's possible when you harness this power. He places a fruit bowl on the floor and then begins to ask the spirits to move it for him. There's no one in the room, apart from him, and he makes sure to show that there aren't any strings on the floor or hidden contraptions. He moves back but remains in the shot at all times, so you can see he's not interfering with things, and then calls out for a ghost.
If there...
Almost instantly, the bowl starts to move across the floor towards the door. Michael insists that this isn't telepathy, but is proof of his ability to contact spirits and get them to do what he asks. What do you think? Is this really what he's doing? Or is there someone in the room below with a magnet against the ceiling? Number 1. Theater ghost. This security camera footage was recorded in a theater in Romford in the UK, and as you'll see, it's a place that's renowned for paranormal activity. It's hard to see at first, but if you look closer, you'll spot what appears to be a ghost sitting down on one of the chairs. The chair starts to move on its own and continues to shuffle about for quite a while. According to the theater staff, there were definitely no people in the auditorium at the time, and there's nothing in the structure of the building that would account for this strange event. To make things even more spooky, this footage was captured after an event that had happened earlier in the day, where a psychic medium was on stage channeling spirits from the other side. Could this be evidence of a specter who hung around after the show? Perhaps one that had become trapped in our world after failing to travel back to where it had come from? Other similarly strange events have been seen elsewhere in this building, and it's just further proof that the place is haunted. Which of these ghosts did you find to be the scariest? And have any of them changed your mind, your beliefs of ghosts? Make sure to let us know in the comments section. Also, check out our other cool stuff showing up on screen right now. See you next time.